I am framing this program as America first, because there is no doubt in my mind, I have run this for long enough to know that the foreign nationals who come into our program are launching U.S. companies, are building U.S. companies, are helping companies raise future funds, are innovating and creating new technologies, are saving lives through their cancer therapies, have trained thousands of students, American students, at our college and university partners. What is more America first than training American students for the jobs that are in high demand in our country today? Jeff Goldman knew about the Cap-Exempt H-1B, which is a visa that 4 types of organizations in the US can sponsor at any time of year without the lottery. And if you work just part-time for one of these 4 types of Cap-Exempt organizations, then you can work full-time for any US company.
How has USCIS's response been to the program, and what are the risks associated with this program that a student might have to go through? Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Area 51 podcast. I know all of you have been kind of processing your H-1B results, either participating in the lottery yourself or either consoling your friends. This episode, we thought we'd do something to help out the folks who have not been successful in the program, and something that a lot of people have heard of but always want to know, have more questions about, is the Cap-Exempt H-1B. And we thought the best person to talk about that would be the co-founder and the director of the Open Avenues program, Danielle Goldman. Hey, Danielle, welcome to the show.
Hello, I'm so excited to be here, and this is a very timely conversation.
I know. And since you mentioned timely, it's been a lot for the student community with SEVIS and everything else, and not getting successful in the H-1B. I mean, it's I don't know how many blows the student community can take at this point, but we're kind of hoping that, hearing this episode, they kind of realize that all hope is not lost. And if you've not been successful in the H-1B program, don't lose hope. There's still some pathways for you. And I think, what you're doing, what your foundation's been doing, I think that's phenomenal. And I'm excited to dive deep into it. As we've discussed, it's quite a packed episode we've got today. So before we get started, Danielle, can you give us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you kind of got into immigration law?
Absolutely. A lot of programs that exist today for foreign nationals are started by foreign nationals. And I'll never forget the first time I got up and spoke about Open Avenues Foundation. Someone in the audience said to me, Danielle, why are you even doing this? You're not a foreign national. It doesn't make sense. And I was shocked that someone had that perspective. But the reality is sometimes there are other reasons why someone would start something like what we've started here at Open Avenues. And for me, it was my father, Jeff Goldman, who, growing up, he used to bring his immigration legal career home with him. He didn't keep work and family isolated. We talked about the cases that he had. We talked about the people that he was supporting, the cancer researchers, the engineers. I heard their stories, and it just became part of my life. And very early on, I actually became a godmother to one of Jeff's asylum clients from Haiti. This was part of my upbringing was, Jeff came home and said, I have this incredible family that just got here from Haiti, and we should bring them clothes and food and figure out what we can do to help because they don't have anything. So this is part of why I, becoming a godmother and understanding the plight of immigrants from both a family and asylum seeking perspective, but also all the way up through employment-based immigration, high-skilled immigration, and seeing my father just be this figure of innovation also within the immigration space. It drove me at different points in my life to get involved in different ways, from a young age through the student immigrant movement, through volunteering.
Oh,
wow. That was high school. And then that was about the DREAM Act and giving speeches in high school about the DREAM Act. And
my God, that's awesome.
And when I went to college, I participated and volunteered for the Tennessee Immigrant Refugee Rights Coalition. And that was, middle of Tennessee. Who knew there were There were so many foreign nationals that were applying for citizenship, and we helped them with applications. And I didn't think it was going to be my career, but, and I, you know, you never really want to do what your dad does.
Yeah, that's right. Or work with your dad.
But I took a turn. I went into healthcare at first. I went into consulting. And on the side, I had a notepad and I would write down ideas for some immigration nonprofit work that I wanted to do on the side. And I would write, like, I remember I wanted to start like throwing birthday parties for immigrant children or something like that. It was like something I came up with along the lines of what I wanted to start. And then Jeff came to me around the time of family separation at the border. And we started Open Avenues Foundation initially in that space. Okay. And it evolved. So this is like the journey of of immigration leading to where we are now.
I think Jeff planned it out. I think he was kind of, I think he planned it out. I think he was kind of grooming you right from a child for a career in immigration law in this whole space. And I'm so glad that he brought work back home. I mean, I'm just thinking if he didn't, oh my God, but it's the countless people you've helped. You know what I mean?
I agree. It's a lesson for all fathers out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's jump into Jeff and the Cap-Exempt H-1B visa program, right? Yeah. I know if you Google his name, you know that he spent a lot of time and efforts in actually shaping the program into what it is right now, not only for you guys, but for the government as well, right? Could you kind of walk us through how Jeff ended up in the Cap-Exempt H-1B space? And then more importantly to the folks who are tuning in right now, what is the Cap-Exempt H-1B program? Because it's one of those lesser known sides of immigration law. Everyone knows H-1B, everyone knows O1 now, it's getting popular and a whole bunch of other stuff, but Cap-Exempt is still not as widely discussed as it should be. So if you could walk us through that, that'd be great.
Absolutely. So Jeff's a practicing immigration attorney for 30 years. He runs Goldman & Partners Immigration Law. He has worked at a partner at some of the country's top firms, but went off on his own. And he was facing the same challenge year after year after year with his own clients who were losing the H-1B lottery, and he wanted to figure out a solution at the same time that he was kind of getting creative and thinking about how he could support. He was approached by a venture capitalist in Boston named Jeff Goldman, who's a Harvard Business School professor and general partner at Flybridge Capital. And he came to Jeff and got in touch with him. And together they wanted to find a solution for the founders at Flybridge and coming out of Harvard Business School to stay in the US and find this pathway. And Jeff Goldman knew about the Cap-Exempt H-1B, which is a visa that 4 types of organizations in the US can sponsor at any time of year without the lottery. Right. And those 4 types of organizations are universities, nonprofits that are affiliated with universities, government research institutions, and then nonprofit research institutions. And what Jeff Goldman knew was that if you just work 5 hours a week, 8 hours a week, part-time for a nonprofit or one of these other types of Cap-Exempt organizations, not just any nonprofit, it has to be a nonprofit research institution or a nonprofit affiliated with colleges or universities. Super important. People get that wrong all the time.
Oh, okay.
It has to be one of these 4 types of organizations. And if you work just part-time for one of these 4 types of Cap-Exempt organizations, then you can work full-time for any U.S. company.
That's insane.
It's insane. It's called concurrent employment. And the concept is written right into legislation. The idea that you can hold a part-time H-1B Cap-Exempt, and then immediately after you can be sponsored by a for-profit private employer that doesn't qualify as Cap-Exempt. And the original model that Jeff Goldman and Jeff Goldman and the Massachusetts state government ultimately developed together was the Global Entrepreneur in Residence program that still runs today, not just in Massachusetts, but actually is still launching at universities around the country. It uses universities as the Cap-Exempt organization for 5 hours per week of sponsorship. And it is really only for founders. And that is where the program stopped in terms of scalability and also in terms of the reach to solve the problem for Jeff Goldman's clients, right? He came to me and said, oh my gosh, this is like so close to working, but it relies on government funding. It relies on the schools wanting to scale a program and hire. Don't forget, the schools have to hire in this model part-time roles for foreign nationals. And that's when he said to me, what else can we do?
When you break it down like that, it's like a no-brainer that this should be your go-to route. Because a lot of people spend so much money going down, day one CPTs and a whole bunch of other stuff, which still is not as widely accepted, I would say. But this, like when you 5 hours of partnering with a nonprofit and you continue your life as is, there's no disruption. What were people doing before Jeff kind of built this thing? Like, just curious, yeah.
I mean, day one CPT programs were just taking off at the same time. So there were a lot of schools building these part-time, the CPT programs like Harrisburg, et cetera. The reality is that those schools, have a lot of scrutiny around them. And we see it, by the way, when we file H-1Bs, we get requests for evidence often on the CPT category of their past status. And that's been a challenge for us in terms of approvals, is for those CPT candidates.
And I saw that recently that there was a university, I don't want to name the university, but overnight they sent out notices saying that, oh, I'm sorry, this program's not going to be continued anymore. You guys are going to be out of status within a day or two. And then there's mass panic from people online. A few of them even reached out saying, what do I do? I'm like, I have no clue. I'm sorry. But yeah, it's insane. Okay, so now going back to your story, right? We're at this point where Jeff's come to you and said, hey, this great idea that we can actually help countless people. I just need to figure out a way how to get past these limitations that are in place. So is that the birth moment of Open Avenues?
So while Jeff was innovating and building this GEIR program, we actually had started Open Avenues Foundation to reunite migrant families and provide legal support, healthcare, mental health care, and housing to migrant families. So we had a family nonprofit, Open Avenues Foundation. I named it. I thought it sounded like, it wasn't too obvious that it was about immigration. But
did you come up with a name?
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
I remember where I was sitting and what I was doing in my first deck that I ever developed with it. You don't forget those things.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love the name. It's always like...
It is, right? It's full of hope, right?
It really is. But it's also discreet enough where in this world, it doesn't say open borders, right?
Yeah.
Opening avenues to anything. And
doesn't necessarily mean immigration, right?
No.
Just...
I liked that.
Yeah, to a better mental health, to a better job opportunity. Yeah, the options are like limitless with that name for like whatever endeavor that you had in mind.
It applied perfectly to what was next, because now that we had this 501c3 nonprofit set up, we had raised hundreds of thousands of dollars. We gave away hundreds of thousands of dollars, right, to families. There was no profit from that. We just wanted to help.
Yeah, that's so nice of you. Yeah. The whole family, right? You said the whole family was involved?
The whole family was involved. We threw a massive fundraiser in Boston. My mom was involved. Everyone was really trying to do what we could at the time. And I was doing consulting in New York, coming back and forth every week on the Amtrak train, figuring out how to just, run this fundraiser and do what we could. But Jeff came to me at that time. And during those weeks I was staying at home in Boston, brainstorming how to help these migrant families and starting this nonprofit, he was bringing up this idea of Cap-Exempt H-1Bs and, we have this nonprofit, and actually nonprofits affiliated with colleges and universities are also Cap-Exempt. And we said, when we gave away all the money in 2018, we said, what should we do now? And it was like a no-brainer that we should leverage the infrastructure of this nonprofit and take the next step to support foreign nationals with this Cap-Exempt H-1B solution. And that's how we kicked off the idea and ideation of starting a fellowship program.
It's a fun question. Did you have any reservations of working with your dad? Because, usually sometimes a lot of folks are like, not something they want to get into because, you're already living with the person at home and they're like, now work too.
Jeff and I have an incredible relationship, and the key is that he's unbelievably respectful of my ideas, and we just balance. He's the expert and he believes in my ability to execute. And I've proven that over time. Like, I took his infrastructure and applied tons of creativity to come up with the idea of a fellowship program, to come up with the idea of, having foreign nationals actually launch projects within their specialty field, their specialty occupation, for 5 hours a week to ensure it's compliant with immigration law, and that they're working within their field and benefiting U.S. universities for those 5 hours per week. And I went and I pitched this to schools, and I built that infrastructure to be a Cap-Exempt organization. And I created the decks and the model and how this could ultimately work, leveraging Jeff's compliance structure. And we had such a great complementary skill set at that time. So that's really how the foundation of this new iteration of what we call the Build Fellowship model ultimately evolved.
Gotcha. Just to quickly sum up what you said, please correct me if I'm wrong, right? I'm just describe what you said about the foundation, right? So the Open Avenues Foundation, what it does is you kind of partner students with nonprofits, which are mainly universities at this phase. I think, is that a fair statement to make? I think you started off with universities, right?
So Open Avenues Foundation was the nonprofit itself. And what we had to do was partner and affiliate with colleges and universities. So we went out and we became a Cap-Exempt organization by partnering with colleges and universities. They weren't just going to partner for no reason. We had to tell the colleges and universities that we had this cohort of top talent and companies that they were going to engage with. So I was building a two-sided marketplace here at that time. And this is the initial model, was nonprofit affiliated with colleges and universities, and the nonprofit was the employer, and is the employer still today, of the foreign nationals for 5 hours of work per week. They don't have to work at the university. They don't have to work for the university. They just have to work and prove that there's affiliation and benefit the university.
How difficult was it convincing universities? Because you need to have a lot of foresight to kind of understand the value that, a cohort of international talent is going to bring. How was that journey like for you?
I mean, it's that, but also the bureaucracy that exists at university is really intense. So Jeff and I mean, it was not easy. We went school to school. We decided to start with community colleges.
Okay.
And we went school to school pitching this concept. Ultimately, Franklin Cummings Tech Institute in Boston had a new president, Aisha Franklin. I think she's one of the most innovative educators of our time. She is brilliant and was willing to say, I see the future in what you're building. I know my students will be impacted by this. I want to take a chance and figure out how you can support my students. So at first, we were just affiliated with Franklin Cummings Tech in Boston, a nonprofit school, 90% Black students. And we started there. And that was how we had our first affiliation. And we took that infrastructure and started pitching companies at that point to support their foreign talent by having them join our fellowship program.
I kind of went through a lot of your interviews and read a lot of your work to kind of prep for this. One line stood out, right? And you mentioned in another interview that you pitched this idea to Wayfair. And at that point of time, Wayfair wasn't initially receptive. And you said, I wish I hadn't done it at that point because it was too soon to kind of pitch. And that's when I realized that companies, to convince them to take a bet on a newly introduced immigration pathway is so hard, right? Because I've seen it firsthand when I speak to different friends or their employers. How did that go? Like, what did you do to tell them, hey, you know what? We're going to make this worthwhile to you guys. Take a chance on us and these students and give them a shot. Like, how was that process for you guys?
I mean, first of all, the way I connected with Wayfair was an incredible moment that I actually am smiling thinking about. But I was at a conference, an HR conference, and human resource officers are the ones who know when their foreign nationals need to be sponsored. And so I thought, well, I should be at these types of conferences. And the chief people officer at Wayfair at the time was speaking. And I sat right front row. I looked at her the entire time. And after the seminar was over, I stood up and went right in front of her. And I said,
wow, okay.
I need you to understand how cool what we're building is. I think that this is going to be wildly impactful for your hiring practices. And I gave her a one line. And I took her in. She said, I really want to talk to you. She took my information. She gave me her email directly. And I followed up and I had a coffee meeting with her one-on-one.
Oh, wow.
And I gave her the pitch and she was like, this is super interesting. I'd like for you to come in. She introduced me to her immigration team, to everyone. And I did. It was truly one of my first pitches I'd ever done. And it was to Wayfair. And I didn't even know we were going to price this model. I think I put like a flat $40,000 price tag in front of them, which was, I had some chutzpah. That's what we say in the Jewish religion. It's like you got some like gall to like go and say that you are going to just charge a flat $40,000 rate when you've never done one of these before. But it was an amazing experience because I knew that they saw the value in the concept. And what I needed to do from there was actually not pitch these corporations, but to pitch the companies that felt the pain point. And our first company that we ever partnered with was an MIT Media Lab startup. And the MIT Media Lab startup had a first software developer that was developing their 3D printers. And he was a mechanical engineer, software developer, wildly extraordinary individual, and needed an H-1B fast from Germany. And they were like, they trusted Jeff and they liked the idea of our timeline, 6 to 8 weeks. And we said we'd do it for free. So that was why we started out with our first company is saying like, just pay the filing fee for the visa. We're going to do it all for free. And we're going to show you that this is going to work. And to Jeff's credit, he put in hundreds of hours of free work from his law firm to get all of this off the ground.
That's insane. And I'm assuming that was a success?
We got it approved. And then, we got our first one approved, which just gave us massive momentum. And we did get, our third one, we had a request for evidence and we got a denial on our fourth. And then that was our only denial for 4 years. And after that, we changed our processes, we iterated, and we taught USCIS what our model was over time. And we've since had, 350 plus approvals with a 99% success rate.
But it's so refreshing to hear you mention the denial, because I'll be honest, Danielle, just because of the podcast and I like reading about all these things, you'll be surprised by how many people out there offering immigration services, right? They downplay the fact that they've had denials in the past. So it's so refreshing and I think it's just plain nice. And I'm feeling so reassured to kind of just hear, okay, no program is fail safe, right? Like no matter what people out there tell you, like, yeah, I got 100% success rate. Come on with me. It's just so refreshing to hear you mention the word denial. And I also want to say, whenever Wayfair does get on board and uses the Build Fellowship, we're going to do a live stream just to talk about that and kind of bring this full circle just to celebrate that moment.
I love that idea. I filmed myself signing my first few contracts because it was such a big moment. And I think that that's the next contract I'm going to film myself signing.
Since you mentioned Wayfair, right? What are some companies that are partnered with you guys? Just so that people know. I know Wayfair is still in the works and I have no doubts it's going to happen very soon. But what are some companies that you guys have currently partnered with? And I think it's not only is this for my own curiosity, I think this will also lay to rest some of the reservations and fears that folks who want to partner with you guys will have when they know that it's already tried and tested and there's a lot of people already partnered out there. So that's the second reason why I'm asking this question.
Yep. It's really important that individuals who are interested in this and looking for jobs and want to prepare and know that it is really not the large corporations in this country who are coming and partnering with us and signing agreements. It happens to be startups, from a 2-person startup that wants to keep their first software developer or even their co-founder or themselves, to Series A, Series B companies that have raised and are hiring and have key talent that they want to keep. So a few examples are Hopper, Fivetran, Clearway Energy, Discerna Therapeutics. We work with a ton of biotech companies in the Boston area. We work with a lot of startups in Silicon Valley. Frankly, we work with small businesses all across the country.
So it's not a tech-only field, right? I just heard a whole bunch of different disciplines from what you just said. So it's not like it's only a tech only field. You've got like core disciplines like mechanical as well, along with your computer science and your data scientist roles and founders and whatnot.
Totally. When we first started, we really focused on technology and biotechnology. And we were in Boston. So we worked with tech startups, lots of software developers, computer scientists, engineers, and then we worked with a ton of scientists in the biotech space. But since then, it's been 7 years of building and iterating.
Been 7 years? Wow.
Crazy.
Wow.
And we really expanded. We work with a lot of hedge funds, private equity firms. We bring on financial analysts. We have accounting firms.
Oh, so it's not only a STEM thing, huh?
No, we have lawyers now. We have mental health practitioners. We've really expanded into other specialty occupations because the idea is if you're qualified for H-1B, you are qualified for Cap-Exempt H-1B. And it was up to us to figure out how do we create fellowships that meet the demands of students in the United States today. And we have 15, soon to be 17 colleges and universities around the US that we're partnered with, and they want access to these individuals who are our fellows for 5 hours a week so students can learn from them. And students are studying a variety of fields. So we're meeting students where they are and providing projects and experiences for them across a variety of occupations.
Yep. The benefit that you guys are doing, I don't know if this is as widely discussed apart from the immigration status, is I think twofold. One, you're getting the people to kind of embrace and welcome immigrants into their lives just by this program. And the second one is that you're helping the folks who are immigrants here assimilate better into the American culture. And I don't think it's just a knowledge transfer. I also see it as a cultural transfer, what's happening, right? And I think this might not be one of the most spoken about benefits of the program, but I think this is something pretty cool that people should acknowledge and give credit to you guys too for this.
There's a lot of those underlying threads of our fellows. I just came from Boston. We did a happy hour, and the community that we create in these cities of foreign nationals going through shared experience. There's that component. There's foreign nationals working with students for 5 hours per week and getting comfortable in those diverse settings and being a leader and giving back to the U.S. population versus always positioning foreign nationals as needing help or needing support or being the underdog. Like, we really position foreign nationals as leaders, not as students. You CPT, you go back as a student and you're kind of getting your third degree. Like, we're talking about having foreign nationals positioned as experts and teaching and really giving students their expertise.
Yep, absolutely. And so when I was educating myself about the program to prep for this, right, and this was the first thing, because a lot of folks complain that immigrants here do not assimilate as quickly as they should. It's this ongoing debate on multiple things. And I was like, this is like the perfect thing to kind of help bridge that gap, right? And just get everyone to a more welcoming atmosphere for everyone, because God knows we need that right now. Totally. You know what I mean? You said 7 years, right? Open Avenues has evolved into something else right now, right? So my next question is on the next phase of your journey, which is the Build Fellowship, right? So I want to, what is Build Fellowship, and what is the difference between the Build Fellowship and the Open Avenues Foundation?
This is the question even all of our alumni who were in the program before are asking. So Open Avenues Foundation grew to hundreds of fellows in the program, and we recognized that we actually had the opportunity to not just be one nonprofit launching these fellowships with universities, but we could expand the number of fellowships that we bring foreign nationals into by expanding the fellowship beyond just one nonprofit and bringing multiple nonprofits under one umbrella of a centralized fellowship program. So the Build Fellowship is the centralized umbrella for multiple Cap-exempt nonprofit programs to run. And Open Avenues Foundation, of course, is our first fellowship program. It still is our core nonprofit partner, but we launched another nonprofit partner in Boston called Dream Venture Labs, where we now have 50 new fellows that have joined successfully into that program. We're launching another nonprofit partner in California and San Francisco in a few weeks.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We're really excited about that. So we'll have 3 nonprofits that are running Build Fellowship programs. So same, leadership, same compliance, same process, same compliance systems to make sure that everything runs smoothly, but we're just doing it at multiple nonprofits now.
So does this mean a third-party nonprofit can just reach out to you and say, hey, I want to partner with you? Or does it mean you guys are going to be launching separate nonprofit divisions in different states?
Any nonprofit who wants to launch a Build Fellowship could reach out to us and launch a Build Fellowship program. It's a really cool opportunity for nonprofits because we actually do a revenue share. And it's a way for nonprofits to be able to launch this education program where you train future workforce while supporting foreign talent within their ecosystem. So
it's very cool.
Each nonprofit has their own ecosystem that they really promote the Build Fellowship to.
Gotcha. So you just kind of democratize the whole process for everybody, pretty
That's
much.
Correct.
I tried reading it myself and I couldn't make out the difference. Only when you just broke it down for me, I just understood.
If only we could capture my my head onto it. If anyone wants to try, let me know.
So is Open Avenue still active today? You said it is, right?
Yeah, it's super active. We have, 200 fellows in the Open Avenues Foundation program. It's just that we have an additional 50 fellows in the Dream Venture Labs program, and all the fellows are maintained by the larger organization, the Build Fellowship.
Gotcha. You guys announced a partnership with Deal recently. Is that an example of this, what you just explained? Someone working with you guys and kind of launching something together?
It's a little bit different. So Deal is going to, help funnel new fellows into our program, and we're going to place those fellows at one of our multiple nonprofits. But we're so excited about this because Deal we actually worked with a company where it was Deal's client. And they brought this reality to Deal and said, hey, can you help us do this again? So Deal approached us and said, hey, one of our clients did this already with you. Could we see if we could help multiple clients in partnership? And so we have now a new partnership where we do the Build Fellowship alongside Deal to support their clients and anyone that comes through their company.
Nice. Congratulations. I just saw it was very recent, right? It was just a few days ago that you guys announced it. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, we're really excited.
The next bunch of questions I have for you, Danielle, are questions that some of them I had, some of them I spoke to prospective students or, employers as well on how someone like themselves can partner with you guys, right? So question 1, let's say I've not been successful in my H-1B lottery. This is not something I can just wake up and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to reach out to Danielle and have her give me a Cap-Exempt H-1B. It doesn't fly like that, right? I should have an employer. I should reach out to my employer and say, hey, this is a program that exists. You need to sponsor me and reach out to Danielle. And then that's how I get sponsored for a Cap-Exempt H-1B. Is that correct?
We have 2 options, and I want to outline both of them because we used to only run one option and now we have another. So the most common option for individuals who want to figure out how to get a Cap-Exempt H-1B with us is that they have an employer that has invested in them, that they are employed by currently, that has entered them into the lottery multiple times and exhausted their chances, and they need a plan B.
Okay.
And this is the most simple version of how we navigate this is a foreign national goes to their HR or their CEO and says, hey, I have a solution. It's the Build Fellowship. Here's the cost. Here's what it is. Get on the phone with Danielle or one of their team members and they'll explain it. And we do. We talk to companies every day about what this is and how we can incorporate this into their compensation plan and how we navigate this current employment structure.
Right.
Option B is a scenario where someone works for Wayfair or a company that has not partnered with us in the past and probably isn't going to partner with us in the future. And they have an employer but they need a way to pay for this program that isn't going to be us signing an agreement with their employer.
Right.
We're not signing an agreement with Wayfair. So what is the option for a Wayfair software developer? They could have a benefactor sign the agreement with us and pay us. It is very important to us that they do not pay us themselves. No foreign national can pay us for this program. It is not legal for a foreign national per Department of Labor standards to pay for their own H-1B. And we certainly have connection between payment to us and sponsorship, and we just don't want to go there. So it requires that an individual has a benefactor, which is any company in the US or a family company or outside the US that they own and wants to contract with us and pay for our fellowship program and sponsor this individual from a financial perspective into our fellowship. And then that allows, once that's taken care of and we can financially have the assurance that we can move forward and pay for this fellowship, then Wayfair can just file the concurrent Cap-Exempt H-1B, or Google can file the concurrent Cap-Exempt H-1B on top of ours without them having to sign an agreement with us. And this just worked for a Google employee recently, so we're really excited that Google was willing to at least file the concurrent Cap-Exempt H-1B without partnering with us.
That's insane. Wow, so many questions. I just found out about it this very moment when you explained.
Yep.
So the benefactor part, right? Can it be another individual, not an entity, right? Can it be another individual person who says, you know what, I want to support this person in this? Can he make the payment for that? Can he support you guys?
I play things safer than maybe I could, but I don't feel comfortable at this point having individuals pay us for anything.
Okay.
Because H-1Bs have employer-employee relationships as the core of it. What I've continued to say is we will have employers or entities partner with us and pay us for this program. That could change in the future, but for right now, specifically when everything is about compliance, and being really tight, I wouldn't want that to ruin anything for anybody else. So it's just entities that can partner and pay us for the fellowship.
Gotcha. And you mentioned having an entity in their home country, right? Could you talk about that a little bit more? Like what kind of entity does it have to be?
Yeah, we'll do an evaluation to make sure it's all clean and legal, but we make sure that it is an entity that we feel comfortable signing an agreement with.
Understood.
And we've partnered with, individuals have started consulting firms for themselves and
in their home country.
Yeah, or in the US, started a consulting firm and been able to have that entity support the fellowship.
How much does it cost?
So our fellowship program is a monthly fee, and the monthly fee is $4,000 per month, but about $1,000 per month goes to the foreign national in salary. So the fee is actually $3,000 a month. And I work with companies all the time to make sure that $1,000 a month or $12,000 a year is just built right into the total compensation that the company would have otherwise offered, so that the cost of the program really is at that $3,000 per month mark.
Gotcha.
The $3,000 per month includes our Cap-Exempt H-1B visa, government filing fees, premium processing, and it includes the ongoing support that we provide to the foreign national, including adjustments of status, any extensions or amendments to their petitions, any H-4s. It includes all the ongoing programming for the education work and collaboration with the universities. So we have high costs to run this program. I wish I could sit here, Roel, and say, this program costs $50 a month. From this whole story where the core of my desire to help is, but this is a business. We have really high costs to run it because we are running an education program, plus we're running the immigration business. And it is a lot of operational efforts to run such a marketplace like we run. Absolutely. So we have to charge these fees. And the cool part is companies get a lot out of this, because it's not just that they get to keep their foreign national, but they get pipeline to students who have trained in their field, and they get professional development for their fellow who is now acting as a manager of a project with entry-level intern students. And that is, a lot of companies pay for that kind of access.
And this might be a very silly question, but since technically the students are working towards or supporting a nonprofit, do they get any tax breaks?
Unfortunately, they cannot because we provide a service. And so
Damn. That would have been perfect, right?
yeah, someday maybe I'll figure that out.
Yeah, that would have been perfect. I was like, oh my God, if I can write that off.
Trust me, we get that question a lot. I wish. But genuinely, we do provide a service especially now that we have the Build Fellowship. It's an entity that companies pay. So they're no longer paying the nonprofits directly for this, and they're paying the Build Fellowship entity, which runs operations across all nonprofits.
Gotcha. This isn't a one-stop solution for everyone who's not been successful in the H-1B program. What sort of candidates would you say this is the most suitable for?
The reason it's not a one-stop shop is there's two reasons here. One is because Jeff and I could never build a solution that offered hundreds of thousands of people a Cap-Exempt H-1B visa, or else it would make the lottery obsolete. And the US government would say,
Danielle
what?
broke the lottery.
Yeah. Right. Danielle and Jeff broke the lottery. That's not what we set out to do. We set out to be a solution for top talent that companies absolutely need to invest in and to continue in the US and drive innovation here. That means for startups, for companies that depend on foreign talent, this cost is a no-brainer. We have lots of companies meet with us and they're like, I'll pay anything to keep this individual because they are making such an impact at our company. And that's really who we serve. And for foreign nationals who have spent 3 years of OPT or 1 year of OPT proving value to a company, this is absolutely for them. And for any student who is trying to figure out the best path forward, working to prove value at a company that sponsors H-1Bs and a company where you can build relationships with a CEO or a hiring manager who will therefore go to bat for you and find solutions for you and do whatever it takes to keep you. That is the goal. And that's who we partner with.
I mean, yeah, if I'm a CEO and I've got a foreign talent working on a patent that's going to, elevate the company to the next level, at that point, $36,000 is a no-brainer, right? I'm going to do whatever it takes to hold on to that person and have that person help us grow and contribute more.
That's correct.
Thank you for that part, because this is also, I feel like, another thing that people need to hear before they go down this. I'm like, you've invested in some foreign talent, they're giving you a lot of value, you've trained that person, and now 3 years are done. Now it's at that point, that critical juncture where you might lose that person, right? At that point, you've got to kind of take a step back and ask yourself, hey, what's the value that person's giving to the company, right? And if that analysis proves that, hey, you know what, he's worth a lot more than what I'm paying him right now, or he's worth a lot more to me than getting someone new, training that person for the next couple of years, bringing to the same thing. People don't understand that, right? If you talk to an HR person, right, and they'll tell you the cost of hiring someone, training that person, and bringing them up to speed when someone leaves, right? That delta, I
brought that calculation to Wayfair, by the way. I did a full calculation. We called it like a replacement cost analysis, and we created a calculation to show what it costs from a productivity loss standpoint, what it costs from a replacement standpoint, recruiting standpoint, and retraining. And we came up with a calculation that is way higher than the cost of our program. And a lot of companies will agree with that, and some won't, but many will say that is actually accurate. And even paying a recruiter could be more than that for some positions. And so it just depends. So it's not for everyone. The price tends to be the biggest barrier. I think many companies that are not in a stage where they've fundraised yet can't do this.
36. Yeah, I can see that.
But once a company fundraises, and if they're a small enough team where, the foreign national is critical to the output of where the company goes from there, then investors are fully behind using those funds to support through immigration.
And it's not like it's for the next 10 years, right? You get another shot in the lottery the following year, right? And then, so it's essentially you're just buying time, right?
This is a stopgap solution.
That one extra shot at the lottery is probably all that you need to just get on your status.
That's right.
Tell thanks to Danielle and the team and then just head off.
It's a bittersweet when folks leave. We just 40% of our cohort just won the lottery, which is unbelievably exciting because it's been 20% year over year. And so for them, it's huge. for us. I built relationships with a lot of people, and I'm sad to see them go, but we're so happy. This is the point of our program.
And I'm sure, like Jeff, you take your work home as well, right? I mean, just by talking to you, it kind of feels that way.
Yeah. Our fellows are amazing. They come to our happy hours, and we do holiday parties, and we build relationships with them. And I will miss some of them that are leaving, but we are very excited because it is the point of our program that they come in and exit.
Yep. And it's not like once you get in, you're stuck. I think you or Jeff or someone mentioned this in the past interview that I studied, right? I mean, the whole point is that it's built into the program, that it's meant to just kind of support you through the next lottery, and then you get in and you just head off your journey.
That's right. We do have a 15-month average in the program. So I can't say, based on the statistics, I can't say that it's always 1 year that you...
It's a 20% chance or less, right, at the lottery.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we've had some folks in the program for 3 years, some in the program for our minimum amount of time. But the key is, and I don't know if I mentioned this before, you do have to stay in our fellowship program for as long as you need Cap-Exempt H-1B status. You can't come into our fellowship program, get the concurrent Cap-Exempt H-1B approved by CRISPR Therapeutics, and then go only work for CRISPR. You have to stay in our Cap-Exempt H-1B fellowship for as long as you need that Cap-Exempt H-1B with CRISPR Therapeutics.
Right. Yeah. If your Cap-Exempt stops, your regular job at your company stops as well. So
yeah. And a lot of people leave our program for different reasons. We have folks leave by winning the lottery, which is the most common. We have folks who are building their O1 cases and they leave on O1. We have folks that are building their EB1 cases and leave on EB1 or PERM or national interest waiver. It really depends on whatever their next steps are, but we're a bridge to those steps.
Since you mentioned founders and O1, how did that work? So if you might have said this, just to reiterate it, can a founder use their own company to support, be a benefactor for the program?
Yes, it's so important that founders know that they are qualified for H-1B visa. And the rule that was actually published in January, right before the Trump administration took office, is encouraging of founders to sponsor H-1Bs. It eliminates the need for a founder to own less than 50%.
Right, yes.
So many foreign nationals own 100% of their company and thought they weren't able to sponsor an H-1B. So that's no longer the case. It really wasn't the case before. So even if the rule was repealed, there's other ways to move forward as a founder and get an H-1B. We did it far before that rule existed. And there's just tricks to be able to do that Jeff has known for years. And we have tons of founders in the program who have done this for themselves because they either had an O1 denied or they went to an attorney and the attorney said, you have a 50% likelihood of getting an O1. And the founder says, I need certainty right now. I'm fundraising.
Yeah.
I'm trying to launch this. I can't risk an O1. And they know they're qualified for H-1B, of course. They have a degree and they have the specialty occupation. It's not so hard to qualify for H-1B. And so we have them in our program and they build their O1 case or they build their national interest waiver case, and that's their path.
That's good to know. This was one of the top questions that I got. Like, I am working on an OPT. It's a lot easier to start it on than on an H-1B. So a lot of folks right out of college, they make use of their OPT and they started. And 2-3 folks have reached out and said, hey, I see that an employer has I am the employer. What do I do? So I'm glad you clarified that. And segueing into the topic that you said, USCIS and Trump, my next 2 questions are about that. How has USCIS's response been to the program? And part 2 of that, which kind of ties into the first one, is what are the risks associated with this program that a student might have to go through?
So USCIS over time has gotten to know our program. We've been filing these for 7 years at scale. They know the model because we've been audited every single year. Every year, an officer shows up either virtually during COVID or to our door at previously our WeWork space in New York. And that's scary for a lot of people. But for me, I now understand that they are doing a routine check to make sure that there's no fraud in the program. And I sit down and I show them all of the incredible fellows and the work that they do for 5 hours a week and the work that our universities have asked us to do. And all of that means that we are compliant in the model and the program. And I've sent them absolutely everything that we have. So USCIS knows about this. And, we've met with USCIS officials. We've done Q&As that have been published by USCIS. So we feel very confident in the ability for us to continue to get these approvals and build this in a very compliant, forward way. And the risks will continue to be what is in the control of the president moving forward, which means that there was recent news that USCIS could cut tons of staff. What does that mean? It means processing times are going to get longer, which means, our 6 to 8 week process could become longer. I'm encouraging people to actually move forward sooner rather than later with the program if they have the ability to get into this now. We could see delays at consulates, which means that if you're in H-1B, you have to face the fact that if you travel abroad, there could be higher risk coming into the country, which is just all visa types and whatnot, because processing times could get longer and additional scrutiny could exist. And that's really where we see the core risk. It's not with the adjudication necessarily, although we've seen an increase in requests for evidence, but that's procedural and it has not increased our denial rates.
Interesting. And since you mentioned the timeline part, right? Just to touch upon it a little bit more, what does the timeline look like from first contact with you guys to a visa getting issued?
We do a 2-week evaluation of anyone who is interested in the program. We're looking at whether or not you're qualified for H-1B, and we're also looking at not just are you qualified with us, but are you qualified with your company? Because it's helpful for no one if you get approved with us and then there's not a specialty occupation match for you at your full-time employer and you don't qualify there. So we actually evaluate both petitions, make sure that someone's qualified. We sign a contract with the employer or the benefactor, and then we move forward with a 6 to 8 week process for filing to approval.
Okay.
That could increase with requests for evidence and right now. So I'm saying, well, I used to say, we need 2 months, and we still can do this in an expedited way. We have a lot of folks who have, OPT expiring in July right now. It's April, and we want folks to get into our program as soon as possible. But now I'm saying, come to us 5 months before, come to us 6 months before. Let's start as soon as possible, because I don't know what's going to happen to processing times if USCIS shrinks its staff.
And is premium an option for you guys?
We only file with premium. It is built into our pricing. We have to do it. This would not work if we didn't have premium processing.
Gotcha. And the applicant who's successful, who becomes a fellow, he is eligible for green card sponsorship at any point in the future, right? Okay.
Super important that our H-1B status is a dual intent status. You can have an H-1B and file for a green card. Almost all of our fellows do. And when you're in F1, and a lot of folks ask me, why should I do this for CPT? When you're in F1 status, you cannot apply for a green card because you cannot show immigrant intent, especially when you're traveling abroad. So if you want to go abroad and travel home and you're on F1 CPT, you can't have a green card pending, or you're going to come back in and they're going to say, you can't enter on your student visa. You have a green card pending. You've shown immigrant intent, and you're going to run into problems. So it's really about what you want long term, and thinking about that when you think of the price of CPT versus doing our program.
Absolutely. And with the scenario that you just mentioned happens so many times. Sometimes it's unavoidable because you're in a CPT and, you have to go back home for a funeral or something like that. And they go and they come back and they're in limbo at that point. And I'm like,
totally.
Yeah, it's
messy.
Yeah, it is. What are some past challenges that participants have faced apart from the processing times part? Are there any legit challenges that they've faced in the past through your program?
Yeah, I love that you appreciate the candid nature of this, and I have no problem being candid, because nothing in the immigration world is perfect, and anybody who is seriously working in this space knows that. Nothing is guaranteed. Nothing is going to be perfectly smooth. There's anomaly cases that are perfectly smooth. And we have a lot of them, actually. I wouldn't say it's the anomaly, but we've had issues. I'd say the top issues that we have are maintenance of status, folks in CPT who have not maintained that appropriately, or OPT who have not maintained that appropriately.
Gotcha.
And between OPT, they had too much time and they have to go back and prove that time was legitimate. The biggest issue that we had last year was we had some crazy fluke at the consulates that started denying our visa stamps. and we sued the US government. And
wow.
we did. We had fellows that stuck abroad, and we said, well, we're going to do everything we can. And Jeff probably gave 100 free hours of work to get them back.
That's insane. Oh my God.
And we were successful. We won the settlement and everyone got into the US. So listen, it was crap for a long time for a lot of those people as they were stuck, but we got them here.
Well, it's so nice to hear that. I mean, a lot of folks, once they do what they're supposed to do, that extra going above and beyond part, and I don't blame them completely, right? I mean, it's not in a lot of people to go do that. But damn, it's very cool. Thank you for stepping up and standing up for the community, both you and Jeff. I mean, I've never heard of anyone say, oh yeah, our program didn't work out for a brief bit and we're going to do what we're going to do to fix it and put in more work. That's pretty cool.
This is our baby. We'll do anything to make it happen. And I mean that so seriously. We've put in, I can say I've put in, but it's really Jeff has put in what some people think of as an entire career's worth of in-kind work. And he's donated it over the years because he wants to see this succeed.
That's awesome. We're moving towards the tail end of our interview, Danielle. The last question that I have before I go into the closing section that I prepared, right? Any tips that you can give someone who wants to pitch this to their employer in an effective manner? I mean, I feel like this is a conversation, if it's not done right, an employer might not understand the whole program correctly, or the nuances that we spoke about right now. If it's not properly understood, it can automatically mean a no, right? So directly from you, if you have any strategies or any tips, I think that would really help folks who want to go down this route.
One, I recommend individuals frame this as a fellowship professional development opportunity that they have come across and that they've engaged with our nonprofits, and they know about this opportunity from folks that have done it, and it's been a great experience. Not just framing it as a visa solution, because immediately red flags start ringing in an employer's ear. Oh, it's a hack. Right. Oh, it's a loophole. Right. That doesn't seem right. So framing it as this fellowship that you're interested in engaging in as a professional development opportunity that also serves as a mechanism to stay in the US legally through this concurrent Cap-Exempt H-1B solution is a really good entry sentence. Then talking about the reality of this being actually, it's really cool. In the legislation in the US, it allows for you to work part-time for one of these types of entities, and being knowledgeable about the legislative element here and making legitimacy is number 2. And then number 3 is don't try to pitch the entire model to them. Have them say, I would like for you to meet with the founder. I'd like for you to meet with their head of partnerships and introduce them to us to give the pitch. Let me give the pitch. Let me do the work for you.
That's so cool.
I don't want you to have to carry that burden to try to convince your employer to do this. I want my team who knows all the benefits, who knows how to work this into your compensation plan to talk to your employer. But if
they do that, they're open to talk. Your team's open to talking to everyone who's in. Are you serious?
We'll talk to any employer.
Damn, that's so
we
cool.
won't talk to any foreign national, or I'd be on the phone all day long with foreign nationals who want to figure out how to pitch this to an employer. But we are very successful when we talk to an employer about this model. And so I want to get on the phone with all of your employers who are listening today and talk to them about this program. And I also will say that if you're talking about this to them, talk about it in a frame of incorporating this into your compensation package. Some people ask for bonuses. Maybe you don't. Maybe you say, I don't need a bonus. I want to do this fellowship program, and I don't need that, conference spend. I want to use that conference spend on this fellowship program. What can you do creatively to incorporate this in and show the company that this is your priority?
So it's not an additional burden for the company itself. Nope. If you can't. That is so cool. I like that. And do you have any concerns with the new administration and how they could impact the program? It's a very subjective question.
Yeah, I mentioned the concerns I have. It's really around the consulate and it's around slowing down at USCIS. But I'll tell you what I really want to do. I am framing this program as America first, because there is no doubt in my mind, I have run this for long enough to know that the foreign nationals who come into our program are launching US companies, are building US companies, are helping companies raise future funds, are innovating and creating new technologies, are saving lives through their cancer therapies, have trained thousands of students, American students, at our college and university partners. What is more America first than training American students for the jobs that are in high demand in our country today? Nothing I can think of. So let's train our future generation who don't have the skills today to fill all the talent gaps in this country through this program. And that's the frame that I'm going to take over the next 4 years, because it's true.
It's true. Yeah. That's awesome. Damn, that's a really nice way. You hit the nail on the head, because a lot of folks, when they hear this, they're like, oh, are we not stealing jobs, or are we not taking opportunities away from folks? But what you just said right now, you're using this as an opportunity to create more opportunities for folks, for American students here, to give them that exposure, to give them that training that'll help them tremendously as they go about their professional lives. How can our listeners get in touch with you, Danielle? I'm sure a lot of folks, after listening to this, will be like, okay, I have everything I need. Now, how do they get in touch with you?
So best way is to email info@buildfellowship.com. I see all of the emails. Okay. They are not going to, and we have automation, so you'll be sent information, which is our application to the program. Okay. But we as a team see the emails, and you can respond, and we can have conversation as well. And I'm on LinkedIn. Usually I'll respond with our latest webinar, so you can connect and get more information through that webinar if you reach out that way, just because it's higher volume. But we're really excited to connect with anyone who wants to, especially, as I mentioned, pitch this to an employer.
And I can vouch for the fact that she responds to LinkedIn, because that's how I got in touch with her for this episode. So she does respond, guys. So if you want to, you're more than welcome to use her out. And I will add that email that you just mentioned in our show notes, so that in the description and the episode summaries, you guys have access to that. And what advice do you have for someone who's not been successful in their H-1B application this year?
If you haven't been successful this year, you need to find a champion to support you. And that ideally is an employer who is going to be your champion and find creative solutions for you. And frankly, you can be your own champion. You can start your own company, your own consulting firm, spin it up, get it going, and figure out how to sponsor your own H-1B. But you have to really think innovatively and creatively and find the people, including us at Build, who are going to work with you to make this happen.
I like that. Champion. And thank you. And huge shout out to Jeff when you do see him. Tell him I said that. Thanks for being our champions. You guys have gone above and beyond the last how many of the years, and you and Jeff and everybody else who is a part of your organization. Thank you. A huge thank you from the immigrant community. And I hope you guys continue to help more and more people. There's always going to be gratitude from our side. And so folks, this is part 1 of the content that we're trying to create with Open Avenues. Danielle's going to, connect us with folks who've actually gone down this route. And we're going to do a live stream on the Area 51 podcast website, YouTube channel, where we're going to be interviewing them to find out how their journey was. And, Danielle has time. She's more than welcome to join us. Once the episode's live in a few weeks, hopefully we should get right on rolling onto that. So thanks again, Danielle. And I hope you come back on the podcast very soon. And I hope you had a good time.
I'm here. We have a lot of work to do. So I really appreciate you highlighting this solution, and we will continue to stay in touch to make sure as many people as possible know about it.
Yep, absolutely. Hey guys, I hope you found that conversation to be useful. I know a lot of you are probably processing your H-1B lottery results, and there's a good number of you who've not been successful. And I totally know how that feels. I wasn't successful in my first attempt either. And I just want to tell all the folks who didn't get picked that this is a lottery that's based on luck. It has nothing to do with your skill, your talent, your contributions to your company or the economy. So don't take it to heart. It's not the end of the world. You have options. And my goal was to showcase what those options are. And you probably know the conventional ones, which is other visa categories like O1, create an EB1 profile. You guys already know about that because there's a lot of content out there discussing these pathways. The Cap-Exempt H-1B and the Build Fellowship while people know about it, I'm sure a lot of you have questions about it. And everyone I spoke to had a lot of questions about it. And this was an attempt to kind of shed light onto the program. And you've heard the conversation. Danielle is very passionate about this. So is Jeff. So is the entire team. And if after listening to the episode, you think this is a route that could potentially work for you, please reach out to her and watch this episode and understand the nuances of the program before pitching it to your employers. And like she said, she and her team are open to having that conversation for you to your employer. So I highly recommend that you use that option. But apart from that, good luck. I again want to iterate the fact that just because the H-1B is not picked, it's not the end of the world. And feel free to reach out anytime if you have questions. I run a community group as part of the podcast. We've got about 200 plus people and multiple channels: immigration support, H-1B, alternatives, international students. We've got channels for almost all of these categories. So send me a note. I'm available on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and I'll send you a link to join. Apart from that, thanks for tuning in. And if you have any ideas on future episodes, as always, feel free to reach out. Until then, I'll see you guys at the next episode. Thanks for tuning in. Take care.